Hey everyone, today our story topic is the golden crab. You can learn the correct pronunciation by listening the story. So let's get started. I'll pronounce the each word very slowly. Once upon a time, there was a fisherman who had a wife and three children. Sorry. Every morning he went out fishing, and whatever fish he caught, he sold to the king. One day, among the other fishes, he caught a golden crab. When he came home, he put all the fishes together into a great dish. But he kept the crab separate because it shone so beautifully, and placed it upon a high shelf in the cupboard. Now, while the old woman, his wife, was cleaning the fish, she suddenly heard a voice which said, "Hello, please get me out." She turned round in surprise, and then she saw the little golden crab. "What? You can speak, can you?" she said. Then she took him up and placed him on the table. When her husband came home, they sat down to dinner. Presently, they heard the crab's little voice saying, "Give me some too." So, the crab was also asking for the meal. They were all very much surprised, but they gave him some food. When the old man came to take away the crab's dinner plate, he found it full of gold, and as the same thing happened every day, he soon became very fond of the crab. One day, the crab said to the fisherman's wife, "Go to the king and tell him I wish to marry his younger daughter." The old woman went to the king and told him what the crab wanted. The king laughed a little at the notion of his daughter marrying a crab, but he did not decline the proposal altogether. He was a prudent monarch and knew that the crab was likely to be a prince in disguise. Next paragraph. He said to the fisherman's wife, "Tell the crab I will give him my daughter if by tomorrow morning he can build a wall in front of my castle much higher than my tower, with blooming flowers from around the world growing on top. The fisherman's wife went home and gave his message to Crab. Then the crab gave her a golden rod and said, "Go and strike with this rod 3 times upon the ground on the place which the king showed you, and tomorrow morning the wall will be there." Here the box of some meaning, words meaning. The word fond means liking or having affection for someone or something. Notion mean idea. Prudent mean wise, thinking about the future when make decisions. The old woman did so. The next morning, when the king awoke, what do you think he saw? The wall stood there before his eyes, exactly as he had described it. Then the old woman went back to the king and said to him, "Your Majesty's orders have been fulfilled." "That is all very well," said the king, "but I cannot give away my daughter until there stands in front of my palace a garden in which there are 3 fountains, of which the first must spray gold, the second diamonds, and the third brilliants." So the next paragraph. So the old woman had to strike again 3 times upon the ground with the rod. And the next morning the garden was there. The king now gave his consent, and the wedding was fixed for the very next day. Then the crab said to the old fisherman, "Now take this rod, go and knock with it on a certain mountain. Then a servant will come out and ask you what you wish for. Answer him thus: 'Your master the king has sent me to tell you that you must send him his golden garment that is like the sun. Make him give you besides the queenly robes of gold and precious stones which are like the flowery meadows, and bring them both to me. And bring me also the golden cushion.'" There is the box of words meaning in the bottom of the page. Brilliance means diamonds that have been cut into a special multi-sided shape that shows off their brightness, brilliance. And consent means permission for something to happen. Here our next page started. Let's see what was happened. The old man went and did his errand. When he had brought the precious robes, the crab put on the golden garment and then crept upon the golden cushion. The fisherman carried him to castle, where the crab presented the other garment to his bride. Then the wedding ceremony took place. Later, when the married pair were alone together, the crab made himself known to his young wife. He told her that he was the son of the greatest king in the world, but he was enchanted so that he became a crab by day and was a man only at night. He also explained that he could change himself into an eagle as often as he wished. Then he shook himself and immediately became a handsome youth. But the next morning he was forced to creep back again into his crab shell. And the same thing happened every day. The prince's affections for the crab and the polite attention with which she behaved to him surprised the royal family. They suspected some secret, but though they spied and spied, they could not discover it. Thus, a year passed away. The princess seemed happy, but her mother still thought the whole matter very strange. At last, she said to the king that he ought to ask his daughter whether she would not like to have another husband instead of the crab. But when the daughter was questioned, she only answered, I am happily married to the crab. Errand means a short journey to deliver or collect something, often for someone else. Then the king said to her, I will hold a tournament in your honor, and I will invite all the princes in the world to it. And if any one of them pleases you, you shall marry him. In the evening, the princess told this to the crab, who said to her, take this rod, go to the golden gate and knock with it. Then a servant will come out and say to you, why have you called me, and what do you require of me? Answer him thus, your master, the king, has sent me here to tell you to send him his golden armor and his steed and the silver apple and bring them to me. The princess did so and brought him what he desired. The following evening, the prince dressed himself for the tournament. Before he went, he said to his wife, now, mind you do not say when you see me that I am the crab, for if you do, evil will come of it. Place yourself at the window with your sister. I will ride by and throw you the silver apple. Take it in your hand, but if they ask you who I am, say that you do not know. So saying, he repeated his warning glaringly once more and went away. The princess went with her sister to the window and looked on the tournament. Presently her husband rode by and threw the apple up to her. She caught it in her hand and went with it to her room. Her father was much surprised that she did not seem to care about. A tournament means a sporting event or contest in which competitors compete for an overall prize. Look at the picture. I think this is a golden crab. Or a servant. Okay, where we were. Care about any of the princes. He therefore arranged a second tournament. The crab then gave his wife the same direction as before, only this time the apple which she received from the servant was of gold. But before the prince went to the tournament, he said to his wife, now I know you will betray me today. But she promised that she would not tell who he was. He then repeated his warning and went away. In the evening, while the princess with her mother and sister was standing at the window, the prince suddenly galloped past on his steed and threw her the golden apple. Then her mother flew into a passion, shook the princess and shouted, does not even that prince please you, you fool? The princess in her fright exclaimed, that is the crab himself. Her mother was very angry because she had not been told. She ran into her daughter's room where the crab shell was still lying. Took it up and threw it into the fire. Then the poor princess cried bitterly. But it was of no use. Her husband did not come back. Now, we must leave the princess and turn to the other people in the story. One day, an old man went to a stream to dip in a crust of bread which he was going to eat. When a dog came out of the water, snatched the bread from his hand, and ran away. The old man ran after him, but the dog reached a door, pushed it open, and ran in, with the old man following him. Oh, there is an old man. He did not overtake the dog but found himself above a staircase which he descended. Then he saw before him a stately place, and on entering, he found in a large hall a table set for 12 people. He heard a great noise and he hid himself behind a great picture so that he might see what would happen. He trembled with fear when he took courage to look out from behind the picture. He saw 12 eagles flying in. At this sight, his fear became still greater. The eagles flew to a fountain. The eagles flew to a fountain that was there and bathed themselves, when suddenly they were changed into 12 handsome youths. Now they seated themselves at the table, and one of them took up a cup and said, "A health to my father," and another said, "A health to my mother." And so the healths went round. Then one of them said, "A health to my dearest lady. Long may she live and will, but a curse on the cruel mother that burnt my golden shell." And so saying, he wept bitterly. Then the youths rose from the table, went back to the great stone fountain, turned themselves into eagles again, and flew away. Then the old man went home. Soon after, he heard that the princess was ill, and that the only thing that did her good was having stories told to her. He therefore went to the royal castle, obtained permission to visit the princess, and told her about the strange things he had seen in the background palace. So, one page left only. No sooner had he finished that the princess asked him whether he could find the way to that palace. "Yes," he answered, "certainly." "Oh, please take me there at once," she pleaded. The old man did so, and when they came to the palace, they hid her behind the great picture, and he advised her to keep quite still. Presently the eagles came flying in and changed themselves into young men, and in a moment the princess recognized her husband among them all, and tried to come out of her hiding place. But the old man held her back. The youths seated themselves at the table, and now the prince said again, when it was his turn to speak, "A health to my dearest lady, long may she live and well. But a curse on the cruel mother that burnt my golden shell." Then the princess could hold back no longer. She ran forward and threw her arms round her husband. He was very happy to see her. "Do you remember how I told you that day that you would betray me?" he said. "Now you see that I spoke the truth, but all that bad times is past. Though I must still remain enchanted for 3 months. Will you stay here with me till that time is over?" So the princess stayed with him and said to the old man, "Go back to the castle and tell my parents that I am staying here." Last paragraph. Her parents were very much vexed when the old man came back and told them this. But after the 3 months of the prince's enchantment were over, he ceased to be an eagle and became once more a man. They returned home together and they lived happily ever after. So this story is from the Yellow Fairy book by Andrew Lang. Okay guys, bye.